Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion.
On this week's episode, we give you our full Halloween Horror Nights 2021 review. You're listening to episode 116 of the Theme Park Duo podcast.
Prepare yourselves for an unforgettable encounter.
Hi, and welcome to the Theme Park Duo podcast. Grab your park map, churro, and hop in line with us as we take you on a coast-to-coast adventure through the world of theme parks, haunts, conventions, and more. Now, here's your hosts, Nikki and Gabriel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Theme Park Duo podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Gabe.
And I'm Nikki.
And we are the Theme Park Duo. The haunt season is finally here, Nikki.
Yeah,
I am so pumped.
From where I'm recording, it's in like 2 days.
Well, yes, but that's still here. It's here.
Yeah, no, it's
this
here.
week.
It's here.
It's in 48 hours.
It's imminent.
It's imminent. That makes it a lot more threatening.
As it should be.
Yeah, no, actually, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. And this week, we actually have Halloween Horror Nights starting at Universal Studios Hollywood. And you're listening to the review of that episode. But if it sounds a little odd, it's because, like Nikki said, it's 2 days from now. Why are we recording 2 days from now?
Because we have a newbie going.
We have a newbie going, and this is going to be a really interesting take on the review of Halloween Horror Nights, people. So we typically do our normal review, us nerds. We talk about the stuff, and, you know, we go through it, and we talk about the scenes and the design and the music.
And our jaded opinions.
And our very jaded opinions. But we are lucky to actually have my sister on the show, who is a complete newbie when it comes to these things. So she's here with us to talk about how, quote, excited she is to go to Halloween Horror Nights. So welcome to the show, Christina.
Welcome.
Hey guys, glad to be here.
Yeah. So when back in it was like maybe 6 months ago, you were like random. We were hanging out and it was really random. You're like, Gabe, I kind of want to go to Halloween Horror Nights with you. And my ears perked up because I was like, cool. I've never been to an event like that with my sister. This should be fun.
Yeah.
But then I realized very quickly, I was like, you've never been. So I don't think you really know what you're in for, do you?
No, I have no idea. All I know is like what you tell me, things I've seen on commercials. Oh my gosh, you guys, the commercial for Halloween Horror Nights came on in between a show I was watching on Hulu. And I literally got tears in my eyes because I was like, wait, that's what I'm going to? That's what I'm going to? I can't believe that I've gotten myself into this. First, I should also preface that when I like Halloween, I like cutesy Halloween stuff. Like, you know, bats, ghosts,
pumpkins,
tiny
jack-o'-lanterns,
skeletons,
things you would find at Michael's.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've already been there. Thank you very much this season.
Oh, trust me. So have we.
Oh, yeah.
So have we.
Yeah. And so this is going to be quite the change.
Yeah, this is a really big left turn for you. I know that, and everybody who's listening, I've been sending my sister photos that John Murdy, who's the creative director at Halloween Horror Nights, I've been sending her the posts that he's been posting, and they're, Reagan sitting on her bed, or the deer mask from one of the stilt walkers that's going to be in the Demon City Scare Zone, or one of Dracula's daughters from the Universal Monsters Bride of Frankenstein Lives maze. So I've been slowly sending these things to her to kind of freak her out, but also prep her for hey, this is going to be the stuff that you're going to be looking at for the entire night. So prep yourself. But it should be really interesting because, like we were kind of alluding to at the beginning, we have our jaded opinions, our very dorky opinions, but it's going to be interesting to actually hear your opinion because, one, you've never been. Two, you don't think about these experiences the same way that we do. When we walk through, we're looking at the finer details and the set design and the maze design and the sound design and all that stuff. You're looking at it from a purely really entertainment standpoint of is it scary or is it not scary? Was I terrified? Did I poop my pants or not? So I'm actually really interested to hear when we go through things, what you kind of are feeling about it.
I mean, from the pictures you've sent me, it's just looks so realistic. And I think that's what I'm looking most forward to, is that since it's Universal and, it's the magic in the movie making, they're going to have just incredible costumes and makeup. But that's also the part that scares me the most because it's going to look really real.
Yeah.
And I know you guys do a great job of recapping, like you said, like the set design, the music. I can guarantee I won't be looking at that at all.
Yeah.
that's what I'm assuming is going to happen, and that's why I'm excited to hear your opinion on the experience, because as much as we love going and as much as we love talking about those finer details of things, sometimes we do get lost in it,
Yeah.
and maybe the entertainment value of it kind of goes over our
From
heads.
like an average, event
general
goer.
public
Yeah.
perspective, and to give you a little bit of insight, people in the community of Halloween Horror Nights fans literally were up in arms because the Haunting of Hill House maze facade is a gigantic plywood picture of the house and the title of the show. And so people lose their minds saying, oh my God, it's going to be terrible. Oh my God.
Why
look
isn't
at
it
that.
a full house facade?
Why isn't it a full house facade?
yeah.
Oh my God, Orlando
What?
has it.
People are just spoiled.
So,
I don't even know why that would be a problem.
Right?
Like, that's how much I don't know. Like, that sounds like a good idea.
No,
That
see,
sounds representative
the
of
thing
a
is, it's not
Haunting
a
of Hill
problem.
House.
Yeah.
I guess then let me ask you this question. If you were to walk up to a maze, like a haunted house, and you were to see just a gigantic picture of the house from Haunting of Hill House, and it says Haunting of Hill House on it, are you satisfied by that?
Yes. Because to me, Haunting of Hill House, the house itself is immensely scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess I could see how people would be like, house, meh.
Well, I think
I
it's
can see
also
both sides.
I think it's also because we don't know what's inside yet. We
But
don't
isn't
know
that the
if
whole point, that you don't know what's inside? And so you're
Yeah.
like, it's got to get better from here. So you're going to go
Yeah.
in and check it out. Like, I feel like it's pretty good.
I mean, there's only up from there, really, I guess you
Yeah.
would say. But, for me, I think it's a situation of like, you're complaining about the facade and we don't even know what's inside yet. You may see a phenomenal facade on the inside of this attraction. We don't know.
Uh-huh.
So let's wait and see what the actual attraction is first before
And I think you
complaining.
sent me some of those pictures from that.
Yeah, through the
right?
walkthrough of the inside of the attraction, some limited photos that were taken during some BTS tours at the maze itself. Yeah, I did send those to you.
Behind the scenes. BTS
I think there was
behind
the
Thank you.
writing on the wall that said "Welcome home, Nell," and then Nell floating on the couch. That scene where she sees the bent neck lady.
Yep.
Mhm.
Oh my god! Yeah,
Yep.
And
totally seen that.
this show messed you up, didn't it?
For real. That was like one of the only TV shows where I watched where I was like literally scared. So Gabe knows how I watch scary movies. I take
Oh,
my
I
two,
know too.
I
I
take
saw
my
Insidious
two,
with you.
I took my 2 thumbs and I put them in my ears, and I use my other 8 fingers to cover my eyes, and I just like only leave just a tiny slit open so I can kind of see, and that's how I watch Hill House.
Well, then I think this will be a very interesting attraction to go through with you.
I think I'm most interested to see how it's going to be that scared for that long. Like, will I eventually get desensitized and be like not scared at the jumps, or will I just be petrified the entire time?
Well, I guess the question is begged to be answered is, when was the last time you went through something like this? Because I guess that'll kind of give you an idea of how you're going to feel. When was the last time you went to anything scary like this?
Oh my gosh. So it was probably before I had my first child, and he's 13 now. And we went to the
He's a man.
we went to the Queen Mary haunted attraction, but it was before it was really big and the way it is now.
Yeah.
So it wasn't
called Dark Harbor at the time. It was
No.
called something else.
and it wasn't as produced, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And there was a lot of those slider guys on the floor. I think that's
Mhm.
what they're called. And like they came really close to you, and there were like all these creepy guys walking around in your face. And then the maze was just like I literally don't know or remember what the theme was because I was so like screaming and scared. All I know is that it was dark, it was a little bloody, and there's a lot of people like.
Your voice cracked a
sticking-
little bit. Are you
I
okay?
did. I think it's the fear creeping in, you guys. Don't worry, I stocked up on my Depends. I'm gonna be fine.
Well, thank goodness. I mean, it sounds like you had fun at that.
I did have fun. I did have fun.
It's like in retrospect, oh my goodness, that was so much fun. But during it was absolutely terrifying.
It was absolutely terrifying at the time. But then the next time I'm like, that was fun. Should we do it again? Yeah, sure. Why not? Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely up for doing it again.
Yeah, I think that kind of experience is a good primer. I mean, albeit 13 years ago, I
Yeah,
think it's
13, spooky number, right?
oh my goodness, I didn't even think
Wow.
about that. Goodness gracious. I do think it's a good primer, but I do think that going to Halloween Horror Nights is definitely going to be a step up, and not necessarily because Halloween Horror Nights is the end all be all scariest thing of all time, but because in 13 years the industry of themed entertainment with regards to Halloween events has progressed so far.
Oh, yeah, that's so true. It's like, it's just, I don't even know how to like say any better than you just did.
Well, I mean, like, even if you were to look at the comparisons between like a Scary Farm and a Halloween Horror Nights, both have gone so far in that
They've
amount of
exploded.
time.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of production that goes into these style of events, not just even from a maze standpoint, but from a cohesive event standpoint, is pretty incredible. So going to something as big as this, I think will be really cool for you to see, because not only is it terrifying, but it's really going to be cool to see the set designs and things like that maybe that event that you went to 13 years ago was missing.
I'm really excited for The Exorcist.
Well, so we grew up Catholic, like really Catholic. So I feel like
We did.
any Catholic would be terrified of going through this
I
attraction.
don't know, Gabe. I got 9 years of Catholic school that you didn't get. So
That is true. It's really ingrained in you.
and I've also read the Exorcist book because I'm nerdy like that.
Hey, that's badass, though. That's badass. Not a lot of people could say that they actually read it.
Also read the original Dracula, so I'm excited for that too. Bram Stoker style, yeah.
Bram Stoker is awesome. I actually really like those books.
Definitely recommend reading that book. But back to The Exorcist, like that was one of the first horror movies I think that I saw that really wrecked me. And just
like wrecked you in the point where you couldn't stop thinking about it?
Couldn't stop thinking about it. The part where, that demon pops up on the screen when you're least expecting it.
Yeah, it's like those jump scares. The Pazuzu demon face like smiling.
Reagan like back walking up the stairs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, those are just like iconic images, and they're just kind of like ingrained in you, and they're like, that's scary. But I don't know how I'm going to feel seeing it 3D real life.
I think it's going to affect you a little bit more than you're expecting, because at least for us, and we're jumping into the mazes here, and we're talking about like how excited we are and things like that. But in terms of The Exorcist, I distinctly remember us going through it for the first time.
Yeah.
And it messing us up.
Yeah.
And us being like sweaty coming out of that maze. Like, why am I sweaty? Was I
This
that
isn't-
scared? What happened?
Yeah, it's like a nonstop, like
it felt nonstop.
it's high paced. It's high there. Well, it's like there's calm moments, but it's pretty like the beats are high.
definitely consistent in that way. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but we loved it.
Yeah.
We'll see how I feel about it, because we've been in it before, and if there's going to be changes, but I think you're going to be very excited to see a lot of those scenes come to life for the attraction.
I feel like in general you're going to be like warring with yourself. Like you're going to be scared and want to hide, but then you're also going to want to look at the really cool sets and scenes that they set out. So I feel like you're going to be like conflicted going
Well,
through
I plan on using Gabe as a human shield the entire time.
That's funny, because I'm actually going to make you go first.
I'm not going to. I can't.
And the reason why is because I have to film you for film the mazes, so I can get stills out of that, and then I also have to get your recording going.
At least one or two make her go before you.
I can't promise these pictures are going to be pretty at all, because I'm going to be like mid scream in all of them.
Well, I mean, the pictures are more for like the sets and things like that, but less for your faces. So
Thank God.
Don't worry, you're good. Don't worry about it.
I can't.
Yeah, so the one thing I'm hoping for this particular maze is for my sister to get a face full of water from Reagan spitting her stuff up.
Wait, what?
I guess I keep forgetting.
You keep spoiling.
No, not spoiling. Like, that's not a spoiler.
It's a spoiler.
I guess it's slightly spoiler. But
it's okay. I think the spoilers don't bother me as much as they would like a true hardcore fan. Like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it might help me a little bit to not like totally lose consciousness.
Well, something that Halloween Horror Nights does is they use water and scent effects in their attraction.
No.
So So
This
Bring
is
those-
getting
bring
this is
those
worse and worse.
she screamed so loud that there was an audible
Yeah, like reverberated.
reverberation into the microphone.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's funny. I'm gonna be really entertained on Thursday.
Oh yeah.
So they use water effects. So like if somebody's getting like their throat slashed, water sprays at you, and you get like warm water on you, thinking it's blood,
And
or
it's
like
warm,
or like Reagan spins her head and spits water out and thinking it's puke. You know what I mean?
but does it smell like puke?
I'm assuming that the room will smell like puke, but not
Sometimes
the
it
water
does.
itself.
Sometimes.
So
Honestly, it depends on what you go through. Sometimes you get the smell, sometimes you don't.
yeah, it just depends on whether the scent cannons are kind of
Yeah.
refilled.
Yeah.
But like, give you an example, you're going through, Saw. Back when Saw was there, the bathroom scene. It smells like a dirty ass bathroom. It smells really bad.
Smells like poo poo.
So it smells. What did you say? It smells like hobos.
It smells like poo poo.
Oh,
Smells like
I heard it smells
hobos.
like hobos. Oh, goodness gracious.
Picky.
Oh, that's funny. It says it right here on the website. Smells like hobos. You'll be very excited as
I
Halloween
feel like
Horror
that's
Night
really
fans.
really specific.
Oddly
It's
specific smells.
Too specific.
There's just a whole maze called oddly specific smells.
That's really funny. And not all of them are bad, but
one of the
most
room
of
is
them
just
are.
cooking broccoli.
Cooking broccoli,
Yeah, yeah,
boiled eggs,
yeah.
things like that. No, yeah. So I think you're gonna look forward to that. But that's things that they do here at Halloween Horror Nights is they kind of use scent cannons to, really encapsulate moments, and they use a lot of water gags too. Not always fake blood or puke. I mean, like in Killer Clowns, we got sprayed with a water gun from a
Yeah,
clown,
yeah.
and it was funny. So it wasn't always like super gross out.
If it's
Mhm.
hot, it's refreshing.
True.
Yeah.
If it's hot. Next maze on our list, and something I think you're probably going to be pumped for based on the shirt that I bought you for the event. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
Yes.
So Michael
I'm-
Michael Myers is your favorite monster like slasher?
I do love me some of him. Oh my gosh, guys! If I made a mistake,
What about the rest of him?
no wait.
What about the rest of him? Is the rest of him
Can you guys
fine?
please cut out anything that makes me sound like an idiot? Okay, thanks.
you know that this show thrives on mess up, so you're SOL.
Well, I love all of him, not just his weird mask.
Just FYI, it's not Austin Powers Mike Myers. It's from Halloween, just to clarify.
We know.
Just to clarify. There's no love guru here. No love guru. But yeah, so Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers. This is also another returning attraction. I'm excited to see Halloween again because for me, the Halloween mazes have been stellar.
They have been awesome. Mhm.
And it's not even just from like a scary standpoint because they are scary, but the endings are always very
Cerebral.
yeah, they're like cerebral and different.
Yeah.
Like Christina, like one of the endings of one of the mazes, you end up walking through the innards of a pumpkin and it smells like pumpkin spice and Michael Myers is inside the pumpkin.
That
like-
is awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm interested to see if they're going to change it a little bit to kind of do something similar to that.
They might.
Speaking of specific smells, I mean, in pumpkin innards specific. Thank you, Gabe.
Yes,
Yeah,
you're very.
that-
There's
yeah,
another
that
one
is
to the
very
list. Specific sense.
Uh-huh.
We should, and the whole episode's specific theme park sense. Next one, AMC's The Walking Dead attraction.
Okay,
Eh.
I have only seen a few episodes of Walking Dead, and I don't know if you even know this, Gabe, but I have a fear of zombies. Like,
I
That
did
is
not know
so-
that.
and it's not the actual zombie part; it's the chasing part, the relentless after you part.
Huh.
Just like this animal that's unrelenting.
Yes,
The
That scares me. that's
Nikki
so scary.
Nikki
to
doesn't
me.
like the
I don't like them
Chomping.
chomping.
The chomping.
Yeah. Gabe cannot pretend to be a zombie around me. I get like physically angry at him.
Yeah.
Because I chomp my teeth near her and she gets
Well, really,
weirded
that
out.
just makes me think of the guy from Hellraiser.
Oh, the Chatterer.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of
Yes.
that, Halloween Horror Nights maze, please, for Hellraiser. That'd be amazing.
That'd be kinky.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you just? What did you say?
Well, because they're
He's-
all in like latex.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff.
kinky.
Yeah, that's why I said kinky.
Oh my
I
god!
just wanted to
Nikki,
make sure I heard you
fired.
correctly. I just want to make sure. Don't want to kink shame you. Sorry. The
So
kink shaming is my kink.
this fear of zombies came actually from World War Z. You know, that Brad
Yeah.
Pitt movie.
Oh
Yeah.
When the zombies are like climbing over each other and climbing over each other and
Uh-huh.
trying
Like
to break the
swarms.
wall.
There's swarms
Yeah.
in that movie.
Yes.
They're crazy.
Intense. And
What-
I'd also read recently. I read a lot of horror books, Gabe. I just realized I read I Am Legend, and the whole thing with the abandoned city, and he's hiding
Yeah.
from all these like crazy creatures. They did the same thing in that movie. They
Uh-huh.
were fast and vicious, and that is horribly upsetting to me.
So you don't like fast zombies?
Yeah. So
No.
Yeah.
these aren't
I'll
fast
take the
zombies,
like
thankfully.
whatever happened to like the mumbling dumb zombies.
That's The Walking Dead.
That's The
there
Walking
you
Dead.
go.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
God.
They're very
Yeah,
slow
they're
and
very
lazy.
slow.
Uh-huh.
So this is the attraction that was there for the daytime. Like it was a permanent attraction at Universal Studios that anybody could go through at any time of the year. So they're just reopening the doors. So I actually think this is going to be a cool thing for you to see because it's really, really well themed. There's a lot of really cool visuals and seeing, the bicycle zombie and things like that.
Yeah.
Iconic moments from the show.
Yeah.
That and it's not super long. I think it might be a good primer for you. Maybe
Actually, it's a good idea.
it might be a good primer for you, but I'm excited for you to see that. Next up is Universal Monsters: The Bride of Frankenstein Lives.
Okay, so I have a question about that right off the bat.
Yeah.
When I think about Bride of Frankenstein, that's not like super scary to me. It's like a black and white movie. She actually looks pretty cool looking, beautiful even. And then he sent me some crazy pictures of some bloody vampire. I was like, how in the world does that even coincide with The Bride of Frankenstein? I don't even know.
So the bride in the film is really only in it for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like total, maybe 5-10 minutes at the most. So this is kind of a continuation story, I think, and it's a made up story where the bride is trying to get back the monster, Frankenstein's monster, and running into Dracula's daughters and things like that. So it's a continuation story, and there's a lot of different things that are happening, and it's really a kind of about the bride becoming like this full-fledged caretaker that she never really was, and she becomes like a badass.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of cool, and it leads into this really cool scare zone too called Silver Scream Queens, where it's all different female monster versions of Universal Monsters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you'll have like a mummy and like Dracula versions and things like that. So it'll be really cool to kind of walk through that and see the different
That sounds so cool.
But this one, I think for me, is the one I'm most excited about because it absolutely looks stunning. The facade of this thing is a giant book, and it's really pretty.
Uh-huh.
And if any indication of if this is any indication of like the last mazes and how good they were, this is going to be just as good.
Yeah.
Because the Universal Monster mazes have been incredible, really well done effects with the masks and things, sets. The music is done by Slash, which is really cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
And for me personally, like the Universal Monster mazes are like more fun, scary.
They're definitely fun,
Yeah.
Maybe you can just take that. I'll go on that one like 6 times and we go home.
scary. Well, our front of line is only good once, so we're going to try to do everything without front of line and then do things with front of line just so we could try to do things twice, but we'll see how it goes. Next one on the list is definitely Nikki's favorite, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's sarcasm.
It was
I-
definite sarcasm.
Not my thing.
Not at all.
And not because I think it's scary.
You're not into the gore cannibal stuff.
I just
And
hate
that
it.
just sounds like unnecessary blood.
Exactly.
Well, they've had this in the past. And, you go through scenes where, Leatherface is putting his saw into someone's chest. He peels off his face and puts it on his own. And you get sprayed with water.
This is your everyday occurrence.
People coming at you with like hammers, trying to hit you on the head, things like that. So I think it'll be interesting. Oh, probably rotting flesh smells in this one. Probably.
Are you serious? You know, I'm so surprised. Has there ever been a hunt where somebody, like, a character comes up to them for a scare and the person has, like, an adverse reaction and punches them in the face?
Oh, that happens every night.
Yeah.
Every single night.
Oh, my God.
Uh-huh.
I can see how that would so easily happen.
Yeah, no, it happens way more than you probably think.
Especially because people get drunk.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like just a horrible idea. Because
But also people just sometimes they just don't know how they're going to react if they've never been before.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, like my friend,
second show in a row that we're talking about Jody.
We talked about Jody. I'm sorry. But I had a friend who I actually went to Halloween Horror Nights with, and she didn't know that she was like unbelievably afraid of chainsaws being near her until we were right up next to a chainsaw, and she just bolted in the other direction, didn't even think about it, and that was her just like gut reaction. So Christina, I'm actually excited to see if you have any of those like reactions.
Fears
to
that you
things.
don't know that you have.
So I've been telling all my friends that I'm going to Halloween Horror Nights, and they're just like, "Oh, that's like the cream of the crop haunts. You're gonna have so much fun. That's like the scariest one." So word on the street is that it's gonna be pretty amazing. And then my friend said, "Oh, just so you know, the only place where people can't follow you is the bathroom. So I may be taking quite a few bathroom breaks to collect myself."
I think you'll be okay. This year, I think the COVID long haul issues that have been plaguing the parks have kind of affected the event. So there's only 3 scare zones this year, as opposed to maybe with the normal like 5 or 6 at times.
I think like you can find plenty of spots where it's like quote unquote safe zones where there won't be any monsters.
You'll
around.
be okay.
Yeah.
So they only pop out in the actual scare zones.
Yeah, and the scare
So
zones
I didn't
here
even
are
know
very
that was a thing.
They're very specific. So, the entry scare zone, I'm looking at the map right here. The entry scare zone, so as soon as you enter the park, it is the Chainsaw Rangers. So it's a whole bunch of chainsaw people with chainsaws
As
chasing
soon as
people.
you walk in.
As soon as you walk in.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get past the Universal Plaza, then you're going to Demon City, which is going to be all demons. And then you'll have the Silver Scream Queens, which is the exit scare zone after the Universal Monsters Maze. So there's no other scare zones in the park this year, so you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
Will I?
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know.
Send Christina the map, then she can see.
Yes, I'll send it to her.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to send it to her. That'd be a surprise.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Really? Because I'm on it right now on the internet and I see it.
God damn it.
It's the 30th year, right?
No, that's Universal Orlando.
You need Hollywood.
You're on the wrong page there. So the next one, we talked about Exorcist. The Haunting of Hill House, we've talked about this one already a little bit too. I'm excited to see this Netflix show come to life. It wasn't my favorite in the world. I had a lot of issues with the show, things that we've talked about before on our own show.
How could you say this?
I liked it more than Gabe, Christina.
I didn't.
Don't even tell me you liked the second one better.
I did like the second one better.
No, I liked Hill House better.
So here's the issue I had, and I'm beating a dead horse here. The issue is that everybody was going, it's the scariest thing ever. Oh my God, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't finish watching it. And there's articles like, people can't finish this show on Netflix and stuff. So I'm going into it thinking, oh my God, this is going to be really scary. I'm really excited for something that's scary. And it was a drama. And there's no issues with it being a drama, but I'm going into this experience expecting a horror show and scary things. And it was not that. It was a drama with horror aspects. And that's not saying that there weren't scary things in it. There was definitely scary things. It was just, I guess I was primed for it incorrectly based on like people's opinions.
Long story short, Gabe is blaming the show for his elevated expectations.
I'm not blaming the show. I'm blaming other people.
That's exactly what you just said. No,
I'm
but
blaming
you're saying you didn't like the show.
No, well, I didn't like the show because of people's explanations of what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Anyway, regardless, don't do that.
There's just so much to be scared about just within that show.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't even like the ending of the series?
No, I liked the ending.
I
thought all of it was really satisfying in terms of like how the story developed. I'm just saying I didn't enjoy it because I was primed for it incorrectly. So,
all right. Well, I mean, just finding out at the end of that show that, I guess you can say spoilers. It's
spoilers.
More than
years.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it, then that's just your own fault.
At this point,
point.
At this point,
when you find out that the bent neck lady is actually Nell, and she's the one who hung herself, and that's why her neck is bent.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so sad.
It's really sad.
It's sad, and it's so scary.
It is actually really terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, guess what? Also read that book.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
Did you read The Turn of the Screw?
Yes, I did.
That was much better than Bly Manor, but still.
No, it wasn't.
I enjoyed it. I liked The Turn of the Screw.
It's I only read it because I knew that The Haunting of Bly Manor was going to be based off of it. And it was scary. It wasn't scary, but I don't feel like the TV show was that much had to do with Turning of the Screw, really. Like
it was inspired.
Great word for it, yes, inspired.
Yeah.
So now that we've all gotten our feelings out about the Haunting of Hill House, let's move on to the last maze, The Curse of Pandora's Box. Now, this is one of the original.
How do you know what that is?
It's an original concept maze that Universal Studios created for the event.
There's not much to know. Like,
the sayings like Pandora's Box.
Yeah.
Like you've opened Pandora's
to
box.
sum up, someone opens Pandora's box and
go
there's
into
like
it.
demons and craziness and everything just strewn about.
And this is a blacklight maze, so
Yeah.
it's like all the kind of glowing
yeah.
sets and things like that.
Very bright.
And when we went in it in 2019, it was one of our favorites. It really felt like unrelenting. It just felt nonstop.
Yeah.
So really excited for that
as
one.
in nonstop scares.
Yes,
Yeah.
nonstop scares, monsters around every corner. The beat of the music really helped progress everything kind of along.
What
things
kind
like
of
that.
monsters are in Pandora's box?
There was like a giant like werewolf dog. There was like a giant snake person, a spider person. There were skeletons. There was a bunch of stuff. You'll
So
see.
you name it.
Oh, you'll see.
It's literally Pandora's box. It's whatever they want to throw in
I
there.
guess so, yeah.
Is it all like the leftover monsters that they couldn't fit anywhere else? And they're like,
Probably.
"That's
No,
crazy."
that's not true.
It's a grab bag of monsters, if
Yeah.
you will.
And it works.
Yeah.
It definitely works for what it is. But
Are there any specific smells in there?
Not that I remember.
spider butt. Spider butt smell. And the last one on the list here, the Terror Tram with the ultimate Purge. So it's themed to the Purge. And do you know what the Terror Tram is, Christina?
This is what I'm guessing. I'm guessing you're on the tram and people like run up and scare you on the tram, or then you have to get off the tram and walk around.
That's essentially
Exactly.
it. They put you on the tram, they give you some video information on like what is going to happen, like what the theme is or something. Then they kick you off and then you have to walk. So you walk the sets of the Bates Motel, War of the Worlds, the Psycho House, and it all has monsters in and around the areas. So it's actually quite cool from a nerdy standpoint, being able to walk, on historic sets from the Universal movies, but also it makes it a lot scarier because you're outdoors, susceptible to everything
At night.
So
And it's going to be
quite
Purge
fun.
monsters.
Well, yeah. So then it's just people, but it's people dressed as whatever they dress as for the Purge.
Masks
See, that
in
to me
90s.
is not scary. I feel like it's more like along the lines of Saw, like torture porn kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And
Little bit.
that doesn't scare me.
It's
Yeah.
the jump scares that are going to get you rather than being creeped out from the way a monster
Yeah.
looks.
No, that one, and that one's more just fun anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It
So,
would be good to be out in the fresh air getting scared instead of inside getting scared.
exactly. So, I mean, other than that, those are all the mazes. There's going to be the Jabberwockies, which is a dance crew. They have that as a show. So that is a nice
we
little
have to
break.
see that,
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
We'll see it. We need
because
to see
I love
everything.
me some Jabberwockies.
Did you know that at one show of Jabberwockies, they pulled Nikki up on stage?
It was
Yes, I
horrible.
heard about that.
It was horrible.
I just watched that video again.
Oh
so it's
man,
pretty
it
amazing.
was so mortifying. That
Yeah,
was the scariest part of the night for me, Christina.
They make you do some pop and lock. Nikki?
Yeah, but then they quickly realized that I could not do the things that they wanted me to do, and they took pity on me.
Well, what ended up happening was that they yanked you on stage. They made you face us, but they were doing stuff behind your back. And essentially, what was happening was one of the guys had a rose that he wanted to give to you, and people were like, "Oh," and he's like, "Shut up!"
Yeah,
And basically, he gave you the rose and was trying to like hit on you. And then they started playing music, and they were trying to dance with you, and then you couldn't dance.
I couldn't dance.
So they danced around you.
I don't
Yeah.
think that rose made up for the embarrassment that Nikki had to go through.
No.
Well,
it
her
was
face turned the
awful.
same color as the
It
rose.
did.
So, I mean, that worked out nicely.
Ugh.
You're
But we
reliving
do
the
have
pain.
to see that show.
Okay, we'll do
I
that
wanted
for sure.
to see them the last time I was in Las Vegas, and I got voted out. We had to go see some guy with the puppets. I don't know. there's-
Jeff Dunham.
Jeff.
Yeah,
Dunn.
that's the guy. There was
He's
puppets.
funny.
There
I
was
think Jeff
it was
Dunn's
funny,
funny.
but no Jabberwocky. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So other than that, you have all the rides, and you haven't been on a ton of the rides, so we'll make sure to do some of those near the end of the night. Jurassic World, Revenge of the Mummy, Transformers, Simpsons ride, all that stuff.
Am I going to get wet on Jurassic World?
Yeah, you are, but it'll be worth it. Trust me.
Not that. Well, if you sit in the back, it won't be that bad.
Just sit in the back.
Do I
Also,
have
wear
to
a
bring
poncho.
a poncho?
You can bring a poncho. We'll buy you one.
I think I might.
We'll buy you.
So I went on one of the 2 Harry Potter rides.
You
I
went on
went-
the Forbidden Journey. You went on the one where you have the shoulder restraints.
Yeah, and we got stuck in it at a very odd angle. And I had downed a butterbeer before I went on that, and let's just say that did not sit well.
Aw.
So I'd like to ride it again on an empty stomach. Hopefully won't get stuck on it.
Well, we'll try to make it happen. So that kind of wraps up kind of getting your kind of opinions on a lot of this stuff. So that really only leaves us to head on over to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood, where I am hoping that the recording turns out pretty well, because I bought a lav mic, people, to put it on my sister's shirt so you could hear her reactions, first-hand reactions to her first time going to Halloween Horror Nights. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've got my bags packed. I got my waterproof mascara. I've got my Depends. I've got extra deodorant.
Puke bags.
I think I'm good. Puke bags. Yeah, I'm hoping to not have to use them, but I'm ready. I'm ready.
So we're going to kick it on off and send us over to Universal Studios for Halloween Horror Nights.
Gabe, I'm really nervous. You'll be okay. I'm not okay. I'm not gonna be okay. Dude, I don't even know how much The Exorcist scares me.
Well, you'll be fine.
I'm Catholic, okay? Oh, no! Ah! It's already scary! Not the music! Ah, it's that smell again. The dead body smell. Can you please go first?
No, you'll be fine.
Upstairs missing my daughter.
No, I can't please Oh my god! Ah, no, 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 no!
Okay, you've heard the audio. You've heard my sister freaking out in the middle of these mazes. Now it's time to actually talk about our experiences at Halloween Horror Nights here in Hollywood for 2021. First off, I really want to hear your general overall opinion of the event, Christina, because you, of the three of us, have never been. You finally got to experience it after all of your fear kind of leading up to it and you being so nervous. So what did you think?
It was a ton of fun. It was more fun than I thought it would be. I thought it would just be straight scared and stressed the entire time, but there wasn't enough downtime in between to like talk about it with you and like laugh and like talk about what was cool, what scared us the most. And I really liked it, and it wasn't so bad being scared. But
what
I
I
have
find
to say
what,
that
what I find funny is that you were like texting me 2 days after saying, can we go again next year? Can we go again?
for real, I was so excited to see people posting it. I'm like, I was there. I've seen it in person now. But I have to say, I think it's taking me until today to get my voice back and to feel my toes again and to kind of not be scared about things like in my peripheral vision that might jump out and scare me.
There is always a lingering like oh, what was that? Like in normal day life
Sense of tension.
yeah
Oh my gosh.
definitely.
Like you're going out to your car to go grab something and you're just like in the middle of the night and you're kind of like keeping your eyes on everything, making sure that nobody's there, and that's simply because you were at one of these events. And I think that kind of comes with the territory. So welcome to the paranoia. But I'm glad that you had a lot of fun. Being there with you was very satisfying because there was a lot of what I termed what I called crouch running, where a scare would happen, my sister would duck, but then still continue to run. So kind of just like really low to the ground. It was very funny to watch. And obviously all the monsters saw this and went directly for her immediately.
Well, that's because I found out a secret that if you just run really fast to the parts that you're very scared of, nothing can get you.
Well, yeah, but then that defeats the purpose of going
I
through
know.
it
Did
at all.
you see how fast I sprinted through the scare zones?
Yeah, and
Worked
more often
really well.
than not, they followed you.
Yes, they did. Not appropriate.
Yeah, but no, overall, I think, these types of events are kind of made for the mix of fun and scary. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always going to be totally over the top scary all the time. It's going to be a very nice mix of that sort of stuff. And, like you said, we had time to sit down and have a drink and eat some food and things like that. So we'll definitely be talking about all of that, as well as the mazes and the scare zones.
Yeah, and since I did not get to go this year, I'm going to be asking you guys how you felt about each maze.
Oh, good.
All right.
Buckle up, boys and girls. We're in for a ride.
I'm ready.
Babe, I am never the one to take the helm of this podcast, and then you do that.
I mean, are you expecting any less?
No.
I feel like Nikki
Exactly.
should do it more, actually.
Well, I agree. Every time I'm like, hey, Nikki, you wanna helm this one? She goes, no.
I get riddled with anxiety. I can't do it. But anyway, here we go.
Buckle in.
So we're gonna start on like the first few mazes you hit when you go in the park. So let's start with my favorite.
Can you sense the enthusiasm there?
Is this a fake enthusiasm or an actual enthusiasm?
Super fake.
Fake, yeah. It's just not my favorite genre. I mean, I'm sure it translates to a perfectly fine maze. But Texas Chainsaw.
Yes, this was our first maze of the night. We were going to go to Exorcist, and the wait time was just a little high because by the time we got in, early entry had already started at 5:30, which,
right.
Hint, everybody, if you're going to Halloween Horror Nights and you don't have front of line, use early entry. It's at 5 o'clock. The Terror Tram, Exorcist, and Chainsaw Massacre are all open. So you could definitely use that. And also check out parkjourney.com. They have a very good survival guide that'll really help you out, especially if you don't have front of line and you want to hit everything. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw is the first one. And right off the bat, you were just immediately not okay with even being anywhere in the vicinity of this attraction.
No, because I don't really like slasher movies at all, like that kind of thing. Like the big kind of gore stuff. There's nothing supernatural about it. It's just some murderer with human skin on his face and a chainsaw.
Well, either they're cannibalistic hillbillies is really what it is.
Whatever you want to call them. Potato.
No, I'm right there with you, Christina. It's not my genre. I don't like it. I find it like I don't know. Annoying isn't the right word, but I find it annoying.
I think
But yeah, no, I prefer the supernatural.
There's no nuance.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to eat you.
Yeah.
And it was still scary. I mean, there's still a lot of jump scares and there's a lot of people chasing you around and stuff. But like what you were looking at wasn't exactly scary, even though it looked totally realistic.
I think when it comes to like these kinds of mazes, especially Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I don't think that the visual of seeing somebody get a chainsaw put through them is overtly scary. I think it's more the thought of it happening that's scary. So it's hard because sometimes these properties translate really well. And I think that this is one of the kinds of properties that can be translated well, and I think it kind of walked the line in terms of its
Mhm.
execution this year,
Mhm.
because a lot of it was, kind of almost the greatest hits of Texas Chainsaw, where it's like, okay, we have the Sawyer family eating dinner, we have Leatherface coming after us, we have Leatherface killing somebody, that sort of stuff. And I think it gets the idea across enough if the audience hasn't seen the 1973 film.
I have not seen it.
And did you get it? Did you understand what was
Yes,
happening?
but everybody kind of knows that story, don't they? It's a pretty iconic storyline.
Yeah, I mean, you
I
don't
mean-
need to have seen the film to
No,
understand what it is.
believe me, I got the gist of it.
I do think that the scares and the gross out factor was definitely present, because you have that really overwhelming scent of like rotting flesh.
I was not prepared for that. I mean, I know you told me that could happen, like they use scents and stuff, but like I think you can even hear me on one of the audios, like, "Ew, what's that smell?"
It smells
And
so
it
bad
like
in here.
really stuck in your nose. I'm like, it was too much to think about that and all the blood I was looking at. I was like, oh god, too much, too much. And it was
But-
like really realistic. I'm like, do we really need that? Do we really need that? But I guess that was part of the whole thing, made it just way scarier.
Yeah, and this being your first maze ever at a Halloween Horror Nights event, I think it definitely set the tone pretty well, because I do think there was some really beautiful sets mixed with some really disgusting scenes, and it's actually a very nice balance, artistic balance of the gross and the beautiful. And I mean, it really ripped the Band-Aid off for you after getting out of it. You had fear sweat on you afterwards.
Ooh, fear sweat. Tell me about it. Oh my god. I mean, I was dripping after I got out of there. And I'm like, was it even hot in there?
No,
Like, I think
it
this was
wasn't.
just
It wasn't yet.
like nervous sweat. Oh my gosh. Nervous sweat. But that's okay. I mean, I think that just went to go to show how intense it was.
Yeah, I think most of these kinds of experiences at Halloween Horror Nights really have a certain like baseline pace, and I think that actually, in my opinion, I think Texas Chainsaw is actually like kind of the baseline pace.
Yeah.
Because I actually even think that The Walking Dead is a little bit more amped up than the Texas Chainsaw was.
Really?
Because I mean, like, in my opinion, I feel like the scares that were happening in Texas Chainsaw were things that were happening to other people. Peeling off someone's face,
Oh,
or
yeah.
he put a chainsaw through the guy in the wheelchair's chest.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
mhm.
So they were more show moments.
Show moments. I mean, they were coming at you at times, but the moments that are supposed to feel threatening weren't happening to you. You're
Got it.
watching the horror unfold.
Yeah.
As opposed to The Walking Dead, where every zombie is coming after you to eat you.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's why I kind of feel like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like that baseline intensity, and I think it only kind of goes up from there.
Got it. Okay,
Right.
so moving on to the next one, another one that I know you were pretty hesitant about is The Exorcist.
Hesitant is an extreme understatement. So we went through this. It was relatively the same. There were some very minor differences, so you know exactly what we went through.
Yeah.
And the hesitancy and the anxiety leading up to this one particular maze was nothing that I've seen out of my sister before.
I think it just has to do with growing up Catholic. Like,
Yes.
this is
Of
not
course.
okay stuff. Like, you don't play with Ouija boards. You don't make tiny little demon friends. One thing that did help was waiting a little bit before the people in front of you went, giving some space.
Yeah.
Because I think when we first went into that maze, the Reagan on the steps was moving backwards.
Yeah,
from
it
her
was
original position.
resetting. It was resetting.
But guess
Yeah.
what? It didn't matter. It was still very scary.
I got a good video of the planchette on the Ouija board moving.
Yeah, that
nice.
was really cool. I think the coolest thing of that for me was those images are so stuck in my head from watching that movie, and everything that was in the movie that scared me was in the maze.
Mm-hmm.
And I think seeing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre first was a really good thing to do, because it wasn't something that I was really scared of. Like, the story, I knew it. It was more anticipation of actually going through a haunted house maze type thing where people jump out. So I was like, oh, okay, this is the way it works.
Yeah. You get the concept, and now let's put on a theme that I'm terrified of.
Right, exactly.
And when it comes to, The Exorcist, as I said, it's kind of exactly what they did. I think it was 2018.
I want to say
In
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
It's based off of the quote banned trailer of the film, where there's a lot of these really intense flashing images of Pazuzu's face and kind of mixed with Reagan's face and different iconic moments from the film. And that's exactly what you get here. I don't think necessarily if they were to have just done it on the film instead of focusing on it on the trailer, it would have been that different, because the whole movie takes place essentially in that room.
Yeah.
Right.
Except for some minor changes in settings, but it mostly is the house.
It's in the house.
And
yeah.
the house is the facade, which, by the way, that facade is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
And also that music, that really made it. The whole soundtrack of The Exorcist is what's so scary.
I think the soundtrack really lent a nice kind of tone to the experience, but also the soundscape and the sound design of it, using Reagan's lines, using the priest lines from the films, really gave it a certain level of intensity.
Mm-hmm.
And that intensity was still there from the last time that we went through it. And I appreciated it, seeing kind of the progression of where Reagan started at the beginning of the film and where everything kind of ended.
Yeah.
I appreciated that as a fan of the film.
Yeah.
And there is a certain level of hesitation going through all this stuff because of like what Christina said, like growing up Catholic. So it's this innate, in my DNA fear of these things. So, and I was kind of scared, even though I had been through it. It's the images that are locked in my brain.
Well, and you also having been through it before, you knew how intense it was, with like the jump scares and stuff. So.
Yeah, and honestly, it hasn't changed in that terms. And I know that we've talked about the issues with black hallways and boo holes and things like that. I personally still think
is that what they're called?
Boo holes, black hallways, yeah. I personally think that this is the only maze where I feel like it fits.
They made it work.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Because of the concept of what the trailer's about and things like that, I think it absolutely works.
Oh,
here.
it does, 100%.
And when we were talking, remember I was saying it was slightly different? They added plexiglass in some of the mazes, I guess for COVID protocol. I'm not 100% sure because it wasn't super consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you'd have a monster fully behind glass. Sometimes it was like an open window or something. But like in this case, some of the Pazuzu monsters would just slam their hands on it and it would just set your hair standing up.
Yeah.
And it was such an unnerving noise that it caught me off guard because I was fully expecting the lights and the sounds and the whole thing. But then that noise of them hitting it really just...
That was really scary to me. I didn't know the difference because I hadn't been before COVID. So I just thought that was just something that they always were behind that glass. It was actually kind of a relief to see it because I'm like, oh, they can't reach out and try to touch me. I'm glad about that.
Yeah.
Was that the maze where they had some sort of like little bell element to it?
Bell element? What are you talking about?
You kind of hear some like a ringing bell. Is that
There was
like a
ringing...
sound effect of the Exorcist or not?
There was a ringing bell noise near the end of it where you see the statue, the one that was out in the Middle East in the film.
Dude, that was so scary because that thing moved.
Yes.
That was not okay. That part really scared me because I was like, oh, that's okay for me to look at full on in the face.
And then it jumps at us.
Yeah, not okay.
But I actually really like The Exorcist this year. I loved it before. So for me, it's one of kind of the must-sees of the event. I was happy to see it return. So thumbs up from us. Moving on, the next maze that we're going to be talking about here
is Halloween 4.
Yes, Christina, this is actually one of your favorite horror slashers. I know that we literally just said like 15 minutes ago that you're not a huge fan of slashers, but this is a different kind.
There's a difference. There's a difference between cannibalistic family like gore porn and
exactly
Halloween.
I have an argument. I
don't care.
Most of the gore that's in Texas Chainsaw is off camera.
Is
most of it?
No, it doesn't.
Think about it. When he puts the girl on the hook, you don't see it happen. When he puts the chainsaw through the dude in the wheelchair, don't see it. You just see kind of like
Hmm.
him holding it at him, or like the only real gore that you kind of see is when he cuts the hitchhiker cuts his hand open
I
in the
think
beginning of the film.
that you're talking about the original Texas Chainsaw
Yes,
Massacre.
not the Michael Bay Platinum Dunes version. That was gory.
I think.
Well, which one was the maze made after? Both?
No, just the Texas Chainsaw
Just the
Massacre from
first one.
1970.
No, but I think that argument is invalid at this point because you have to look at the property as a whole now and what people
True.
associate with
True.
it throughout the years.
Like Saw.
Yeah, like Saw. Like
Yeah.
the like
That's
the first
the kind of slasher porn I'm talking about.
Yeah, but the first Saw isn't like that. I love the first Saw movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
True.
first Saw is great, but people don't even remember it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, because they just think about like the bear trap on the head. You know, it's
horrible.
Yeah,
The
no,
bear
it's
trap on the head is in the first film.
No?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is. Well, you know what
Bear Trap on
you
the
guys
Head?
know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
Isn't that the band that's opening up next week? Bear Trap on the Head?
But I'm
Just
bummed.
kidding.
Well, anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
But yeah, so Halloween 4. What did you guys think?
I think Halloween 4, for it being a returning maze, and this is, Christina hasn't been through it before, but having seen it before, they did make some changes to it and some adjustments that I think were actually good changes and adjustments.
Okay.
I think the best part of the maze was like the last few moments of the maze.
Oh,
When you
yes. Yeah,
just-
the ending.
yeah,
So
you
good.
Just got to see so much of him. And it just... Are we allowed to say spoilers or
Yeah,
not?
this is a full review, so I mean, spoilers galore.
Okay, so they had this really cool, like, funhouse mirror effect thing, so it looked like there was just a ton of Michael Myers everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
it was
awesome.
just so scary, but so convincing. I'm not really sure how they did that with the lighting and how many actors were really in there or not, but it was like the perfect ending for that.
Well, I could tell you that we got every single actor that was in that sequence. Every single one of them came after us, like even came after me.
I think it's
So
probably because I look so ridiculous.
well, you were crouch running again.
Is
you were
that why
crouch-
my thighs were sore the next day? Because I
Probably.
can't...
Yes, yes, that's exactly why. So all of them came after us. So I think there was a good 3 or 4 in there, and the other ones were mannequins. But they didn't just put like crappy thin mannequins; like they actually look like somebody was
sturdy
in them.
guys, yeah.
Sturdy guys, sturdy mannequins,
Sturdy man.
sturdy
man.
a sturdy man.
It looked pretty convincing to me.
Yeah.
The ending definitely, after having gone through it again, it's definitely not, at least in my opinion, up to par to what the prior iterations of Halloween mazes have been in terms of like their like kind of otherworldly endings. To me, like the going through the pumpkin is by far
Wait,
the
what?
best.
Yeah, there was one year where you were literally walking through the innards of a pumpkin.
I'm pretty sure we talked about this when.
Well,
Oh, we did, we
briefly,
did.
briefly,
Yeah, we talked about this when we prepped you before going to the event. But yeah, you would go through the insides of a pumpkin, and he would be in there, and you would have the scent of pumpkin spice and things like that. So this one is playing off of the idea of
Weren't there others?
boogeyman
though?
is
Wasn't
everywhere.
wasn't one a brain? Am I
no, it wasn't a brain. It was it. I know what you're talking about, and I think it was either I think it was the first year.
Yeah.
But it was kind of once again kind of more of an artistic take on
Yeah.
the idea that the boogeyman can be anywhere.
I felt like you were supposed to be like in his head or something.
Something to
Yeah,
that
I don't
extent.
remember.
I know what you're talking about, but I'm having a really hard time remembering what
it was so long ago. But anyway, yeah. So they're always really like out there for like the last scene in those Halloween mazes, and I love that.
And this one isn't my favorite, but it's really, really effective.
Yeah.
I mean, case in point, my sister crouch running.
Oh yeah, I would have been right there crouch running with you.
Well, you were ping ponging from each one, so you would scream, go to the right, then the next one would get you, scream, go to the left, and then it would happen until we got to the end of the maze.
At this point, like going through mazes so often throughout the years, my default now for going through like rooms like that where I know it's like half mannequins, half real people, it's like I search them out and I try to figure out who's real, and I'm like, I see you, stay away, I know you're real. Like, you know,
Look
I
at
like
their hands.
I call them out before I get to them in hopes that they'll just be like, whatever.
No,
You know,
I just try not to make eye contact. Wherever.
That doesn't help.
No, it does not.
Yeah, no, this maze is really well done. And here's another example of the plexiglass. So there were versions where it was like a full piece of plexiglass and the light would turn on and he would like do the stabbing motion really quickly and the light would turn off. Or there would be like a window and he's at the window and he's swiping through the window with his knife trying to like reach at you. And of course nobody's going to get close. Everyone's like cowering in fear. So he's like full swiping with his knife through the window. And I actually think that's ingenious.
Yeah, they made it like a prop.
Yeah, they're making the plexiglass a prop and it actually feels semi-dangerous.
Yeah.
which I like that feeling kind of going
that
through
knife
a
looked pretty real to me.
Yeah, it was super not shiny at all. Flat and dull.
It was scary.
But yeah, no, for me, I think Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers is I feel like Michael Myers is always going to be one of those mazes that does really well.
Yeah.
I feel like the team at Halloween Horror Nights really appreciates that that genre of film, but also just Michael Myers in general. It's almost like you have to treat him with respect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
he's like, I don't know. I think, there's like the classic monsters.
He's the top echelon of like serial killers for movies.
Yeah, but he's like a classic without being like Frankenstein's monster or Dracula. He's like right below that.
Yeah.
He's up there now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For sure.
So, really, really enjoyed this one.
So now let's talk about The Walking Dead.
Oh gosh.
At the time, you said that it was really intense.
I know, but we've talked about in the last one my fear of zombies.
Yeah.
And just the whole chasing thing and stuff. And I've never seen The Walking Dead for that reason alone.
Yeah.
And I think I got the gist of it enough of the whole season in this one walkthrough.
So this one walkthrough was the one where I get left in the dust. More so than any other
really?
one.
She was just gone?
She effing booked it.
I did.
You booked it and ran around every corner, bumping into things, trying to get away from zombies that are like stumbling towards me. You give me like this look of like, she's scared, huh? And I'm like, yep, she's scared. And then they would stumble back into their boo hole.
It makes it less scary when you call it a boo hole, but I love it.
Go back in your boo hole.
Quit being such a boo hole.
That's what you were when you were running through this. You weren't even enjoying it.
There was no enjoying this one for me, Gabe. I don't care how much you want to make me see the beauty of this maze. I couldn't. It was bad. It was scary. I had to get out of there. So what I did was I plugged my ears, and in my brain I was going la 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 la, and just ran right through it. I was like, I can't handle this one. But that was the one where we saw Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian.
Yeah.
They are so tiny. They are tiny humans. Tiny humans.
And you're not saying just skinny. You're saying like you're surprised at how short they were.
Yeah, they're short and skinny.
Pocket people.
Like if a zombie ate them, it would be an amuse-bouche for the zombie.
Oh, and not even they would still be hungry.
Yeah. That's what it would be.
Got it.
They would be like, that's it.
Like an airplane snack.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny after having so many different kind of like mixed emotions about the Walking Dead experience and feeling like it could have been better than it was as like the daytime experience, even though it was still kind of that taste of HHN. I feel like the absence of it made me love it because going through it again, I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. I had a blast.
No, probably. Because I mean, I remember back when it first opened, we thought, oh man, this is awesome. We get to go through this all year long. But then, it becomes a thing, it becomes a thing that like is just fun to hate because it's always there and you're bored of it. And it's like, I wish they would change it.
And compared to what came before it.
And compared to the
House of Horrors.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're always comparing it to what was there before. But I mean, it is like at this point, now that it's not like an everyday thing you can go through, it's like a nostalgic, fun thing that I'm glad is. It was another walk through haunted attraction that was there year round, but it was like bigger and it was called the House of Horrors.
And it went through a few classic Universal monsters.
It went through a few iterations, but yeah, it was more like the classic Universal monsters.
I mean, it moved because that's where
the Starbucks was.
Yeah, essentially, like where the Starbucks and the studio store is. The entrance used to be like around that area, and you would exit near where the entrance of this one is almost.
Yeah.
So it kind of moved a bit and used different space, but the daytime walkthrough used to be something else. So I think, like you said, Nikki, kind of people, after having it for a while, kind of tend to pick on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I wish it was better. I wish it wasn't what it was. Things like that.
Yeah.
But I actually really, really enjoyed it, having it back finally.
But then also Universal didn't do itself any favors throughout the years. Like, I remember when it first opened, it was like packed with actors. And then, like 3 years later, it's like, we're lucky if there's 2 zombies in the whole thing. So it's like, I mean, they didn't do themselves any favors there. But
I mean, it was packed this time, and they even had them
course.
at the scares that were, the added scares for Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, so this is like peak quality for, this Walking Dead walkthrough attraction. So.
Exactly. So I appreciate it. I'm glad it was there. But obviously it wasn't the best of the bunch in terms of, a Halloween Horror Nights offering, but it's definitely something that you can go through. At least for me, a haunt veteran, somebody who's been going to these things for a long time, this is amazing to go through to catch my breath.
Yeah.
And like, hey, I want to relax. Let's go.
You know where everything is.
It's kind of just like,
why not? Said that. You're gonna go through that to catch your breath?
Yeah, pretty much.
I went through that and lost my life.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the next thing up here.
Okay, let's switch it up a bit and talk about the Terror Tram back for this year. It was gone in 2019.
That was so much fun.
It's the most unique offering that our Halloween Horror Nights has that no other Halloween Horror Nights has.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I appreciate it so much. And for me, it's, people complain about it being, the same every year, regardless of theme or not liking the theme. For me, I personally don't care, just because I love the idea of stepping off of the tram and walking the historic sets.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that is the reason why I'm doing it. And the fact that there's people trying to scare me is like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Even if it's the Purge and I'm not huge on the Purge, like that what you guys were saying, like Texas Chainsaw doesn't scare you. This doesn't scare me.
Purge doesn't scare me either. It's just, again, some of those like really violent movies. It's not that scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, Texas Chainsaw is actually scarier than this.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but other than that, stepping away from whether or not the actual property scares me, I do think that what they did was smart, because, there have been years where we walk through and everything's very open and, it doesn't feel intense.
Yeah.
They added those walls again, so you had to walk next to the side of the Bates Motel. So there was less space for you to kind of maneuver around and get away from the scare actors, because they were right there in your face all the time.
That's good.
I feel like it was really controlled, and it's probably because of COVID.
Yeah, actually, it might be correct, because there have been other years where it felt less controlled, but this one felt like very specific in like, you're going this way or this way, and even at one time they split it up and you're like, go this way or this way, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
well, I was like, why am I not in that group? I want to be in that group.
Yeah, well, there was always that split. Are you talking about when you get to the War of the World scene?
Yeah.
Yes.
That split's always been there.
But the split was at the end.
No, it was before the plane crash.
Yeah, but this year it was all the way at the end of the plane crash, which was very confusing for me.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, because initially it would be at the beginning.
Excuse me, the split was always there.
But it was all the way at the end, almost to the point where it's like, why would you split it now? And anyway, like they kept us on the left-hand side next to the wreckage, and I wanted to go to the right-hand side next to the houses, because they had like banners and mannequins all dressed up for Purge and all that stuff. So I was a little bummed, and even told the lady, I was like, I want to go over there, I want to take photos, and she's like, no, you're not allowed
on media night. Come on, lady.
Is what it is.
Whatever.
I'm not gonna be like, look at my badge. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, no.
But I mean, overall the experience is fun. I mean, the whole gist of it is like, hey, we're gonna take you down to this Purge party, it's gonna be a lot of fun, but they're basically taking you so that they can slaughter everybody. And of course, the typical HHN fashion, as soon as you get off, there's a bajillion and one chainsaw people coming after you, swiping at your feet.
Turns out I don't like chainsaws.
Well,
Before I went, I was like, oh, how scary can a chainsaw be? And then that noise is just so off-putting. It's just really scary compared with it. combined with them just in your face,
Yeah.
oh, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But I will have to say that being able to walk through the Bates Motel and then nearly on the front porch of the Psycho House was amazing.
Which Norman Bates was back. So we took a
Yeah.
photo with him.
Yay.
We did, and that guy was a really cool Norman Bates. Like, he was on point. I feel like he really looked like him. Like, the
Yeah.
costume he had. Perfect.
Yeah, no, it was definitely on point, and he did obviously the very creepy. He was standing there when he went to take the photo, but when you look at the photo, he had his knife kind of like
Yeah.
sneaking out of his pocket a little bit. So
Did
that
he
by the time you turn around to see him again, it's already put away.
Oh yeah. Was he like in character saying like, "Oh, mother,"
The
wouldn't
whole
like
time.
me? Yeah.
Oh, he
didn't talk.
but
He didn't talk.
he
no.
looked like him. He's very maniacal.
Yeah, so the only issue that I have with it is at times, and I think we've experienced this before, it just gets packed at a certain point because the tram is letting off
Yeah.
so many people that when they're trying to bottleneck you into this, pathway for where you kind of are trying to get into the War of the Worlds,
Yeah.
it becomes a conga. You're kind of like sardines packed together, just trying to get through this.
Yeah.
Was
So
that the part when we walked through the maze and, well, like the narrow,
pathway?
like, yeah, pathway fences, and there was those guys in those ghillie suits. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. That's exactly where it was.
So I'm really glad that I saw that guy jump out in the group ahead of us, because if I didn't see him and know where he was coming from and he did that to me, I would have peed my pants.
Yep. Ghillie
I have a-
suits.
I have a
Ghillie
weak
suits
bladder.
get me all the time. Ghillie suits are still my Achilles heel at haunts. Like nothing phases me very much, but those damn ghillie suits, like
You
they
just don't
get
see 'em
me
coming.
every year, and it makes me mad that out of all the things that could scare me at haunts, it's shrubberies. Like it's
Yeah, and they look ridiculous
Shrubbery.
as soon as they come out.
yeah.
And they are good, but they have these damn shaker cans that are
Oh,
terrible.
yeah.
I want to take all of them and throw them in the trash. Don't use shaker cans. Use something else.
Yeah,
I don't care
shaker
what it
cans
is.
are
Use something
just
else.
annoying.
Is it because it scares you or because it's annoying?
No, it's annoying. It's not
It's
scary
annoying,
at all.
and you hear it coming. So
And
you
the thing-
hear the shaker cans way off in the distance, forever away, and you're like, oh, "Okay, there's something up there."
And it's not an off-putting noise or anything. It's an annoying noise. It's
Yeah.
not scary annoying. It's just straight annoying. And it's not like there's a ton of them. It feels like there's like two things in his can. So it just sounds like the can is broken as opposed for it to be purposefully making a noise.
I
Isn't
feel
they're
like
just begging for spare change.
He's
Yes.
he's begging for change.
Yeah.
I think that's
Change,
just you guys
change.
going to a lot of haunts and knowing what that it was. To me, it
No,
was scary because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
definitely
But see,
part
but
of
that
it.
also is the reason why we have it here in the first place, because there is that difference in opinion and difference of perspective because we're jaded.
It's
And I'm definitely not ignorant to that. Like
yeah.
we are very jaded.
And once you're in that mentality, it's really hard to get out of it. Like to me at this point, I'm like, oh, everyone thinks this way. It's like, oh, okay, wait, Nikki, no.
Exactly.
So it's actually really refreshing and nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Meh.
Thanks a lot. I expect nothing less.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time to move on to our next thing.
Okay,
All
why don't
right.
we talk about the scare zone?
Yeah, let's take a break and talk about some scare zones before we jump into the last 3 mazes. Because this year, as opposed to having 6 scare zones, we only have 3,
Uh-huh.
and they're all up on the upper lot.
Yeah.
So in previous years, they would have, the entrance scare zone, the scare zone where kind of Universal Plaza is, the exit scare zone for whatever maze that's in the Parisian courtyard. Then you would have the scare zone in the tunnel, the toxic tunnel
Yeah.
leading to the back lot, and then whatever the scare zone
Ooh,
is.
toxic tunnel.
That was a fun one.
I like Toxic Tunnel a lot. It was like strobe lights with people who kind of look like they're messed up with
It was like toxic waste.
goo
Like
waste.
they basically turned like half mutant,
Yeah.
like boils on them and
Yeah.
things like that.
they come at you with
Mm.
weapons and
Yeah.
things.
No.
And then whatever scare zones on the back lot,
Yeah,
the gauntlet style scare zone that
Yeah.
they would do.
that I love
So-
so much.
There's definitely a downsizing here with the amount of scare zones, which is a little disappointing.
Mhm. It could just be
because-
COVID though. So
I mean, yeah, it is COVID, so I'm definitely going to give it a slight break, but it
Yeah.
is a disappointment knowing that you have half of what you typically have.
Yeah.
In terms of that style of entertainment. But let's talk about, at least in my opinion, I think it's the best one, and that's it's the Universal Monsters Scream Queen Scare Zone. And this is at the exit of the Universal Monsters Bride of Frankenstein Lives maze. And here's why it's my favorite. And Christina, you could chime in afterwards and let me know what your opinion is. But my favorite is, one, the soundtrack. It was a damn earworm, and it was so good. It lent a certain level of energy to that scare zone that, one, gave the monsters and inherently gave them energy to run around and get from person to person. But it almost was like I didn't want to leave because of how fun it was. The monster designs are really cool, and they kind of range from the beautiful to the absolutely terrifying. Because there was some there was like almost like this living dead person and a vampire woman who was very scary. There's also another vampire woman that wasn't necessarily super scary, and like a Cleopatra mummy monster that wasn't over the top scary. And a different upgrade to the scare zone as that they didn't have prior. You could walk into it without having to go through the maze.
Yes.
So it was completely open. You could walk through it. You could walk around. I mean, there's nothing back there. Like Minions play area is closed and Pets is closed.
You still have to seek it out, but you can get to it without going through the maze.
Exactly. So
that was
that's a
one
huge
scare
plus.
zone I didn't feel bad about walking through twice.
Nice.
But I think the biggest thing for me is that whole thing was woman run. Like, it was Bride of Frankenstein and the lady vampires, and like even the like old timey signs were all about the Bride of Frankenstein. It was all ladies. It was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, the only male scare actor, I think, and I can't tell if it was a male scare actor, but it was a male character, was Frankenstein's monster, and he was on stilts.
Was he out there later on in the night? Probably I didn't get to see him.
He was out there later on in the night, but I have a feeling that he was just going into the maze.
He was just a shift change.
It might have been a shift change, because I did see him a couple times. I also saw the bride character a few times running around.
Like the one from the maze?
Yeah, for the one from the maze, specifically the one from the ending of the maze. So it might have just been a situation of like, hey, we have some time, let's run around.
Probably.
As opposed to actually being established characters in the scare zone. But other than that, Christina's completely correct. It's all women characters, which I think, personally, I think that representation is really, really important, especially at events like this, that, when you think about horror films, you mainly think about men, because a lot of those characters are men, and then when they're not, they're a victim. So the fact that there's this role reversal of a woman being kind of the one that's doing the chasing after and is the monster, I think is really nice and really cool.
Oh, Carrie's pretty scary.
I beg to differ a lot.
Okay, then name me 5 female monsters in horror films that you could think of right now.
Carrie, Jennifer's Body,
Misery,
and
the Rocks of Cradle.
But even the fact that there is hesitation is my point.
No, there's hesitation because I'm absent-minded and an airhead.
No, but my point being is that a majority of monsters are male. A majority of them are. If you think about it.
I think that the disparity is not as great as you're making it, but I get your point, and I don't deny that this representation is awesome.
Twitter poll.
No. Well, okay, fine. Twitter poll.
Twitter poll. Are a majority of monsters in movies male as opposed to female?
You know what? There might be not as many female monsters, but there's a lot of really cool female characters, like Shelley Duvall in The Shining. Like, she's half the movie.
No, but that's also my point, but she's the one who's the victim. And what I like about the scare zone is that it's women in the forefront of everything, being the monsters, being the one that are doing the chasing, and not just being a victim.
Hereditary.
No. Oh. No.
Yeah. No, it's like the grandma.
Maybe We're getting into an argument
Okay, yeah,
here
no.
for that movie. That's gonna be a major tangent.
Yeah, no, let's just stop.
I digress. I like that it's what Christina said, that it's the representation of women in the scare zone is pretty great.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Okay.
But it was really good, and the music was amazing, and there was so much to look at, but I felt like I really couldn't look at it because I was really like, people were chasing me because I looked so scared. So I didn't really have a chance to look at everything, but I wish I had more time.
Yeah, I went through the maze 5 times, so I went through the scare zone
Excessive.
way a bunch of times. So I definitely had my moments of just kind of like sitting there and kind of just soaking in the music and the vibe and watching people get scared, and the werewolf that was out there kind of hanging around the bushes waiting for people to come out of the maze and just getting them as soon as they walk outside.
Nice.
Things like that were really fun to watch. But yeah, this is by far, out of the 3 scare zones, this is my favorite.
Cool.
And then moving on from that, these 2 are kind of mixed together.
Because they meet up.
Because they definitely bump against each other.
So what's the main entrance one? What's the first one you see when
that
you
is
walk
called
in?
Chainsaw Rangers.
Chainsaw Rangers.
And it's in the name. A bunch of chainsaws. It wouldn't be HHM without chainsaws.
Uh-huh.
And they have animal masks on, so it almost looks like they went and like took it off of an animal that night.
Remind me of Pet Cemetery, the new one.
Oh, see, I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about because the kids are wearing those creepy animal masks.
So,
yeah, and they're fur.
Are they like rangers, like park rangers with their animals?
I don't know why it's called Rangers.
Okay.
So there's a guy with like a rabbit mask.
The deer mask.
And there's a guy with a pig head mask.
There was a deer.
Yeah, that was...
That one I actually think was the one that disturbed me the most.
The deer. Oh yeah,
Was
I
he on
remember seeing a picture of that.
No, he was not on stilts. There was no stilt walker, I believe, in that zone.
I think stilts and chainsaws would not be a good combination.
Timber! There was 2 stilt walkers. One was definitely in Demon City, which is the next scare zone.
And he did have antlers, right? Am I imagining that?
That guy, I think, did have small antlers, but he was for sure part of the Demon City scare zone.
He was more of a skull.
He was, but then there was also another one that looked very different. That I don't know which scare zone he was part of, but I'm gonna guess Demon City, just because of the skull thing. Huh?
Because he didn't have a chainsaw.
Well, yeah, he was on stilts again.
Oh yeah, then he's part of Demon.
The stilt walkers don't have chainsaws. Are you confused?
No, I'm not confused.
Free idea, Universal. Give chainsaws to the stilt walkers. Just saying.
Real life fear. Like,
Real life fear.
Yeah.
Chainsaws from below and up high.
Okay.
Where'd that chainsaw come from? Oh, it's up there.
You get those animatronics like they're using in Spider-Man and Adventures Campus, but give them chainsaws.
They
acrobatic chainsaws.
They acrobatic chainsaw scare actor robots.
Yep. Free idea.
Whoa.
Take it.
Things got intense around here.
I'm just here for the ride. I'm listening.
So I mean, like Chainsaw Rangers, it's in the name. You get it already. That's pretty much all it is people chasing with chainsaws.
Yeah.
And that's great. I love it. That's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be more than that.
Did they have go-go dancers?
They did not have go-go dancers.
What?
I don't feel like they've had go-go dancers the last couple of years.
Please explain to me how go-go dancers would fit into this whole thing.
Usually at the entrance at the park, they would have scantily clad women dancing to
like
the
on
music
either side
playing.
of the fountain back set, but on either side
with chainsaws.
No.
No, their legs are made of chainsaws.
Okay, makes sense.
No chainsaws, just kind of
they
atmospheric
didn't have
dancers.
them in 2019?
No, I don't think they did.
Really?
No.
Oh.
But yeah, they didn't have that, but chainsaws.
There you go.
Chainsaws.
Yeah.
And then Demon City is bumped up right against that. That's where you have all the fire torches shooting up in the sky. A lot of really cool decorations kind of set out with all the different demon statues.
Burnt firemen running around.
Yeah, I don't know if they were firemen, but they were definitely burnt.
They had axes.
They did have axes.
If it's called Demon City, I'm just, off the top of my head, it's like demons attacking a city. So obviously there would be regular city people like trying to stop them.
Well, he definitely didn't look like a person who was trying to help.
Well, maybe he's possessed already.
He might have been.
But what I mean, it's like the character. That's their character.
Yeah, maybe.
Like a
I
possessed-
stayed out of everyone's way.
Well, they
over
came to
there.
you, so there really wasn't an issue. So there was like the different demons and things like that. There was one Stillwalker who was like eating it up because he would like go under the fire and act like he was like messing with the fire and stuff, and he was just like in the zone.
Yeah.
So that was always really fun. But both scare zones to me had like the perfect energy, were really fun. I just want to see these scare zones extend more because I actually think Chainsaw Rangers could have gone all the way up to the entrance of Universal Plaza, and then Demon City go all the way to Springfield.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
just extend all of it
Yeah.
and add a few more scare actors and let that go all the way to The Walking Dead. So at least that whole sequence and that whole area completely filled with scare actors.
That's the way it should be. Don't know why they don't do it. We say
Yeah.
it every year.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. It is a year after COVID, and I mean, we've seen a lot of these cuts. So maybe, hopefully, in the years moving forward, they'll kind of adjust.
Yeah.
So, but after that, let's talk about the last few mazes that we were able to go in.
Okay,
All
so
right.
let's go back to another one of the returning ones. So let's cover Pandora's Box.
And this was, I believe, the only original IP, like the only original concept maze that Halloween Horror Nights had this year. Because I consider Bride of Frankenstein IP.
Technically,
The Universal
yes,
Monsters, I consider
I
that
mean,
IP.
I mean, yeah, that's the story they're telling is like taking liberties with it, but it's a pre-established character. So
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Pandora's Box is the only original IP they had.
Just as intense as it used to be, just as fun, and even caught the opening of the door.
Oh, nice.
And it was
I
really
loved
hard.
it.
It's really funny because you kept asking me, you're like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
It's hard for me to kind of describe what it is, and I kept saying like, the term, like, you've opened Pandora's box. It's that, but what's in it is
I
monsters.
get that. I was just trying to get a feel for what kind of creepy things I was going to encounter in there,
It's
and it was
based
pretty
on
much
Greek
a
mythology.
mixed bag.
Yeah.
But-
Quote Greek mythology.
I really liked that one. I felt like it was it wasn't as scary as the other ones. It was really fun to look at. I mean, there was still some really good scares in there for me, of course, because I'm scared of everything.
I'm not quite
Because all
sure
of
what
this
you
is
were looking at
completely
because
new.
you were running.
I'm fast, Gabe, and I can take in a lot.
I've never
Okay.
seen anybody crouch run so as fast as my sister.
Yeah, I've really developed some spectacular leg muscles from this outing.
You know
I
the
also noticed that my arms are incredibly sore, and that's because I kept on like
tensing up.
to my face, like putting my hand in my face, like
Yeah.
like that, which is basically like chest compression exercises. Like it was intense.
I
So what you're
always get
saying
a
is
really
that Halloween
sore.
Horror Nights is good for working out.
I always get a really sore like rib cage area, like down near my like sternum. Like that's what gets sore on
You
me
hear that,
every year.
people? HHN sternum workouts.
No, just a haunts in general. Like I always get really
That's
tight.
where your fear muscles
That's
are, Nikki.
that's where those are my fear muscles. Why don't I have abs? Why don't I have rock hard
You
abs?
haven't been to haunts enough.
It's only
been a
because
whole year.
it's only because it's like a month and a half out of the year. Dang
Mhm.
it! You get scared
Exactly.
more.
But there was the one sequence in the maze where you're walking through cages and there's like all these birds kind of, you get like the fluttering in the
Yeah.
wind from the
Yeah.
Yes.
she effing sprinted through that thing going no
But you
I
love
knew-
birds.
I'm selective about my birds, okay? I have 2 very tiny, cute zebra finch. I love them. And they're in a cage and they stay there. Do not like pigeons, do not like larger birds, do not like the birds that were in that maze.
All geese can die, in my opinion. I hate
all
geese.
geese could die.
I
Whoa,
hate
things got
geese.
dark.
No, I hate geese. They're all jerks. They want to bite off your fingers. They will attack you.
This got really intense really quick.
Geese will like murder
Listen,
other animals. Like
Really
that's
pent up
fact.
anger about this.
I really hate geese. I really hate geese.
What happened in your childhood?
I got chased onto a park bench
Oh, that
by
makes
a group
sense.
of geese.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That
Have you-
happened.
Have you really lived unless you've been chased by geese?
I guess I haven't lived then.
Oh man, I've
I've
lived.
never lived. There we go. I found out what the missing piece in life was.
Just watch. I'm gonna be
Just gonna
taken
go-
out by a goose one day.
I'm just gonna
watch.
walk into a pack of geese. Just see what happens.
Maybe you blocked it out, Gabe.
Living life
Just
on the
your
edge.
arms open wide.
Living
Ready.
life on the edge. Take me.
Oh man.
No. Oh, new maze idea. Geese.
Oh god, I would cry.
No, and the best part about it is that the name of the maze is Geese
Geese?
with a question mark.
Why something gets so much better? No, I hate geese. Moving on.
Moving on. Curse of Pandora's Box. I enjoyed it just as much as I did in 2019. I think it was just as intense, just as fun, just as fast paced as I remembered it being. There really wasn't a ton of changes to my knowledge, maybe like a few small things, but I would have really loved to see some like big changes.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't remember much of it from the first time I went through because it's just such a constant barrage of things happening. So it all kind of blurred together.
It's pretty busy, I'd say
Yeah.
that. Even I got that from being my first time and going to the other mazes. I'm like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. Like, I'm sure if I went through another time, I'd see a whole different set of things that I didn't want to see again.
Well, you did run past a lot of things that I ended up getting. So thank you, but you are
Was
correct.
that the one where there was that gigantic Medusa head coming out of the wall?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I remember that.
That was enough for me.
Moving on to the other maze that was in the exact same area.
The last one is the Haunting of Hill House.
Not the last one. We haven't talked about the best one.
Oh, I forgot that we hadn't talked about that yet. Okay, second to last, Haunting of Hill House.
So, Christina, I want to hear your opinion on this because since you said you were kind of not about it.
Okay, so out of all the mazes Gabe told me about, Haunting of Hill House was the one I thought I was going to just literally pee my pants and fall on the floor from, because I'm so scared of the bent neck lady. Like, that is such a scary concept. The whole Hill House and the Red Room and everything, like watching that show was like an actual TV show that I did my patented plug my ear but also cover my eyes at the same time kind of thing, which I usually reserve for movies. This was just a TV show and it was that scary. But it was also the last maze of the day for me, and I felt totally just
you said overstimulated.
Overstimulated, completely overstimulated by everything that I was seeing throughout the day. So when I went, I'm like, there's Tall Man. Okay. I wasn't as scared as I thought I would be.
Your physical reaction definitely doesn't match your mental reaction.
But in my brain, I wasn't as scared.
It was all the crouch running again, dodging, walking really fast around corners, and also peeking around corners of like,
okay, because
is there anything there? Then you would
more on
scream
edge.
and then run.
My nerves were shot by that time. Before we went there, I think we had gone on the Tram, but then we also walked through Harry Potter land again, and we were getting water. Remember, we were getting those Gilly waters, and the guy was like, "Oh, really fast with taking your card in and out," because he was having trouble reading. I'm like, my nerves are shot, dude. I'm just trying to get by.
Back off, bro.
Just need something to drink, okay? Like, that's how it was by the end of the night. I was just like, what? Afraid.
Well, like one of the first scenes in it is you're walking down the hallway of the house. And I remember distinctly you kind of walking slow. And this is when you started to pick up your pace. There was a lot of doors and a lot of windows. And it was just that fear of like which one is going to open. She's just like,
exactly.
Just go.
Because as I was going through all the other mazes, I'm like, oh, okay, I see where somebody's going to pop out here. Like, there's like a cutout in the wall. There's either that plexiglass there or there's like a drop that somebody's going to push through. And I was like, but wait, I don't see where they're coming out here. They couldn't possibly leave an entire hallway with nobody popping out. I didn't like that at all. And that was the one where people were coming out behind pictures, behind doors, like, the paintings that were hanging on the wall. So you just never really know where it was coming from. So very nerve-wracking. But aside from feeling totally overwhelmed by that one, the set was really cool because it looked exactly like Hill House to me.
Yeah, it was I would put it on par with how pretty Crimson Peak was.
Yeah.
Crimson Peak was, to me at the time,
Ooh,
one
I
of
wish
the
I saw that
prettiest.
one.
Oh, so
And
beautiful.
this is on par for me, how pretty the maze was.
Nice.
Just it made you feel like you were actually going through the hallways of Hill House. I am disappointed that we don't get some type of facade on the inside. I mean,
Yeah.
although that doesn't play into the overall opinion of the maze and how it delivered for me,
It would have been nice.
it would have been nice.
Yeah.
So as soon as you go in, you're already in the house and everything's already starting to happen. And I know that you said you kind of felt very mad about it because it was the last thing we did.
And I was just so exhausted. Like, by the time next time I go, which I will go again, I have to wear better shoes. I picked fashion over function this time, and I shouldn't have done that. And I know better. But I am remembering that there was one part in the Haunting Hill House maze that really scared me, because it was one of the parts in the show that really scared me, when that little kid goes in the dumbwaiter down to the basement. And
with like that half body weird
oh
zombie
my
thing.
God, and that happened in the maze. That was too much. But after a while, it's kind of hard to tell whether that's like an actual actor. Is it an animatronic?
It was definitely a still figure on a track.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
If it scared you, it scared you. That's all that really matters in the end.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what it was or how they did it. If it scared you, it scared you. Oh yeah. Also, Christina was talking in Chris Pandora's box. I thought she was talking about the Medusa on the wall that was painted. She was talking about the gigantic head.
Yes.
Shoots out of the wall.
Yeah.
Just thought
Wait,
about that.
There was one painted on the wall? I didn't even see that.
There was one painted on the wall that would change.
Oh no, all I saw was the one that was like coming out of the actual wall.
Yeah.
That was scary.
So when it comes to Hill House, I keep flip-flopping on it, because on the one side, I think that out of all of the mazes at Horror Nights this year, this is the one that scared me the most. I got scared by the tall man multiple times, and even him and he's on stilts. And he came out of the freaking woodwork. And as soon as you turn the corner, this is what actually my favorite thing about the scare is, he comes out and scares you. He goes back to his little corner that he's in. As you turn to the right, there's this really tall mirror that's...
Oh, so you see him again?
So you see him standing in the corner in the darkness, staring at you.
That's super creepy.
And that, to me, lasts way longer than a jump scare. It's the creep factor. And that worked really well. And I just happened to be getting all the different scares from up high, from down low. Like, they were just coming from out of the woodwork for me for that particular...
But that set was so cool, though, because you were so busy looking at the two kids being really scared in their bed, and like I kept on looking under the bed. I'm like, that has to be where it's going to come from.
And then it gets you in your peripheral.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, on one hand, I appreciated it for that. But on the other hand, I think that inevitably people are going to be disappointed. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Christina, but I feel like the show was so well received, was so popular, and people felt very strongly about it, and how well it was. It told a story, and how it represented Hill House as not just a building, but as a character, that you lose that in this walkthrough experience. Which, how are you supposed to represent a house as a character in a walkthrough experience?
Exactly. I think that there was no way they were going to get that through in like a 2-minute maze. One thing that was pretty disappointing to me was, I know I wasn't supposed to see it, but I did see it, was the way how they did the bent neck lady effect was basically somebody in a blackout suit with the head attached to their own head.
Yeah, I don't think that was the smartest way to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, they did it in the show. Why can't Universal somehow do that? I mean, I'm sure
they
it was
should be able
partially
to
effects, but they could have possibly done some sort of effect behind a plexiglass. It just so happened that I was at the right angle to see the light flash, to see that it was some guy in a blackout suit, and I was so disappointed.
I mean, I definitely think they could have, because at least when I saw that happen, they weren't moving. It could have easily been a mannequin that they replaced it with. If they're not moving, you don't need a human being to play that character.
Yeah.
Because you had her in different sequences in the maze as a still figure, floating over the girl on the couch, seeing that happen.
You didn't really have to see her bent neck in that situation, though, because that's the whole thing. That's why she's scary.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you don't need to know that, especially if you already know what it is. You already have the concept of what the Beck Lady is if you know the show. But if you don't know the show, then it's just the greatest hits. That's all it really is.
Yeah.
So I think anybody who's like a fan of this know that going into the maze isn't going to be like reliving the story. You're seeing like the greatest moments, seeing some of the more popular ghosts that are in the film, things like that. And to a certain extent, they tried their best at kind of having that like the ghosts are hidden everywhere kind of thing by putting a lot of high up, scares and kind of having them come from all different directions.
Well, what about the part when you walked into the red room? It took me a really long time to figure out that was actually the red room that I was in afterwards. Like I didn't realize until like I was that night laying in bed. I'm like, oh, that was the red room because that's where the mom was serving tea and she had part of her brain showing and there was a bunch of other ghosts there that's supposed to represent all the ghosts in the house. I didn't really get that.
That's funny because I immediately got it.
Was the room red?
No, well, the red room is with the big red door.
Oh, you're right. It's the red door, but then when they're in it,
Did we walk through a big red door?
The big red door was facing us, and we turned to the right into the room. So the door was, quote, open as you walked into it. So you're facing the red door as you're walking towards it. And then she's in there with her teacup, and it was a pretty cool effect of using scrim screens. So it looked like a room as you walked in, and then he lit up the scrim screens, and all the ghosts are behind it. And then it would go back to normal again.
Yeah.
And she's like all burnt up, messed up, like serving tea and talking. Yeah. It was pretty creepy, but really well done effect. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this one. I really liked it. But I do think that inevitably people are going to be slightly disappointed if they're expecting some type of like retelling.
I guess people just have to go in knowing that, they're not going to get like, to a certain extent, it should go unsaid that you're not going to get like a full retelling of the whole Haunting of Hill House, series.
That's kind of impossible
in this little maze, and like other movies and shows that they put in maze form. It's pretty much also greatest hits. So why would you expect anything different?
I kind of try to think of like what other movie is there a house that's like an actual entity. So like Amityville Horror, like how would they handle that? They can't.
Well, I think a big part of it, and it is one of the biggest like critiques that people have that is that there's no physical house, to see.
Yeah, there isn't.
And they've done it. They've done it so many other times, throughout the course of Halloween Horror Nights, building these wonderful facades of houses that I don't know why they couldn't have done it. Because that is, if you're gonna have a maze of this show where the house is like a character in itself, like you owe it to that IP to have the house.
Yeah, but even if you were to have that facade there, it still wouldn't change the experience on the inside. I understand what you're saying though, because similarly, if you were to compare it to another maze, Poltergeist, you have the facade of the house as you walk into the experience, and that sets it up.
Insidious, you had the house.
Yeah, Insidious.
There's so many other ones.
Oh my goodness, I'm glad I didn't have to go through that.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
But yeah, no, so those are kind of other examples. So yes, it could have helped, but I don't think it takes away.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. It could have helped.
Yeah,
because I also have said on this podcast, like, it's okay. It'll still be a good maze without an actual facade, but in the context of what we're talking about, it would have helped.
I do think that it's possible to tell a story in a maze, and if they wanted to try to focus on that idea, they could have done it. And simply based on the fact that our last maze that we're going to be talking about here did it like in the most perfect way,
which was The Bride of Frankenstein Lives.
To me, this is the best example that I could ever see of storytelling done in maze format. To me, it was absolutely perfect.
Remember, weren't you saying that people were upset by the outside of that maze, that it was a book? Wasn't it perfect that it was a book?
Oh, yeah, people were just like, oh, why is it a book? And
it makes sense when you go through it.
It's really cool. It's such a cool facade.
It's an amazing facade.
Just like from that one was really impressive to me of what Halloween Horror Nights could be. Like, when you walk in and the audio was so good, not just the music, but you could really hear what was going on, like the story.
The dialogue.
Dialogue, yeah, you could really hear everything, and it was like a lot of acting in that. It wasn't just scares, it was acting.
Nice.
And I know that Kevin would be very happy about the term I'm about to use, but the maze did very well in terms of its visual literacy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these moments,
visual literacy.
a lot of these moments that could have easily just been, boo holes and things like that, to me spoke volumes of what the story is where it's going based on the actions of the scare actors, because at least there was a lot of moments where, in Alien versus Predator, where they come at you from either side. There was a lot of those moments in this where the bride is coming at like Dracula's daughters who are on the left-hand side or something, or Dracula's daughters on the left and she's trying to save Frankenstein's monster on the right. There's a lot of those moments.
The makeup was so good too.
Yeah, the creature design was so good. And also the progression of the creature design was really well done, because you have your Dracula's daughters normal, then they're all messed up, and then you have like the old version of them. You also have the progression of the bride from the beginning to the very end.
Nice.
Same thing with the Frankenstein's monster. So overall, from a audio standpoint, visual standpoint, dialogue, everything, the story is progressing and it's really easy to follow, and I appreciated it for that. And it's so interesting to have taken a character from a film that basically was only in it for 5-10 minutes and is now this full-fledged badass character that now I want to see more of.
Yeah.
Because it was so well done. And Slash's music was I am more than happy to say when I'm wrong, and I believe we said it on the show, and I was like, they could have just gotten any old music and it would have been fine. I am so wrong. Because his music was able to progress that story and keep the pace of the maze better than I could have ever expected it to do. So for me, like, this maze, and I've said it about the other Universal Monsters mazes before, this is what Halloween Horror Nights is. If I tell somebody like, hey, watch the video of this maze because this is what I think Horror Nights is. This is what they're capable of. Instead of maybe having some silly mistakes in other ones, maybe approaching IPs differently. This is the way it should be.
Nice.
They also carried on that whole thing of the book opening throughout the whole maze.
Yeah, you get the different chapters.
Different chapters, and it was really cool.
Yeah, getting the different chapters was definitely helps you kind of keep track of kind of what's going on, because you get the visual image, you get the dialogue that's there, and then you get the scene directly right after it, which really, really helped. So this maze from top to bottom for me was, and there's a reason why I did it 5 times.
You did that 5 times?
I did it 5 times.
Dang.
Because at the end of the night there was no line. I was just circling through it.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
If I wasn't half dead, I would have done it too. I would have 5 times, maybe like 2 more times.
If you had stayed just a little bit longer, you would have been able to see Chainsaw Chase Out and do this.
No, I'm fine with that. I told you how I feel about Chainsaw.
Well, moving on to the last few things that we did do that we haven't had a chance to talk about, but Chainsaw Chase Out. If people are listening to the show right now and haven't been to Halloween Horror Nights here in Hollywood, it is a staple of the event. You have every single chainsaw person come to the front of the park and kind of wait for the music to build and hit a certain beat, and then they all rev their chainsaws at the same time and chase people before they go away. It is a tradition in Hollywood for that, and it's usually a half an hour before park close.
Yeah, it's awesome. If you have the stamina, you make it all the way to the end. I highly recommend it.
The odor of the chainsaws is so pungent.
It is. There's lots of fumes in the air.
No wonder I was feeling great. Joking. But yeah, no, Chainsaw Chase Out is absolutely phenomenal. And then also on top of that, we were able to try a good amount of food and drink at this year's event. There was a lot of really good food.
Talk about the hot dog.
Oh my gosh,
that hot dog.
So we were down on the lower lot. At the lower lot, you have the Leatherface's Family Texas Barbecue, or Texas Family Barbecue, and you can get a few different things. But what we got was the 22-inch hot dog and the nachos, which the nachos got served on one of those like styrofoam plates that usually would be reserved for like markets.
Like
They
meat,
would put raw meat in it and
on.
stuff, which
Ugh.
I
Not
thought
appetizing, but the
that was a
food, it
nice
was
touch.
good.
It was a nice touch. But the hot dog came with a handle. Came with a freaking cardboard handle. It was so big.
22. I don't feel like people can really
Visualize how big it is.
It's 2 pieces of paper, like height wise,
And it was
next to each other.
girthy.
Yeah.
It was a girthy hot dog.
Can you not say that?
It was. It was a very thick hot dog. It was.
I mean,
It was filling.
we shared it about 8 ways. Like,
Yeah.
let's just put it this way. That
Well,
way.
like our friends Ashley and Nick from Mouse Vibes came on over and said hello. So I literally started chopping off.
You were just
pieces of the
pawning
hot
off
dog.
pieces of
Here,
hot dogs.
Here,
There's
take
no
hot
way we
dog.
were gonna
Here,
eat it
take
all.
hot dog. Here, take hot dog. Here, take hot dog. Here, take hot dog. It's just a lot of hot
expect it.
dog.
I don't know what I expected 22
Inches of hot
of a hot dog
dog.
to look like, but I guess I didn't think it would be that big.
Oh, the jokes. The jokes.
I was
It's like a yard of hot dog.
I was like sitting here at home, and we had been joking about that hot dog like a few
Gabe
days
did
before,
it.
and then Gabe just sends me a picture of you and him like smiling with this hot dog in front of you, and I was like, oh my god, you did it.
I know it was intense, but I have to say that was really good fuel for the rest of the night.
Yeah, no, you need it.
It was filling,
yeah.
and it was actually, and the thing is that like it wasn't just some like crap hot dog in a big bun. The hot dog was actually really good. Like it was a good hot dog. So, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Other than that, like down on the lower lab, we went to the Terra Lab, which is a bar that serves some food on top of Jurassic Outfitters. So it kind of overlooks, where the boat kind of comes back into the station for Jurassic World.
Uh-huh.
And we got a couple drinks there. I think, Christina, you got the Amber Mai Tai, which
Yes,
came with like a
delicious.
little lollipop with a bug in it.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it was like the tequila lollipops. Then this was non-alcoholic though.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I already really like Cutwater brand drinks.
Yeah, so that was the brand. It was that, and then it was what's the other beer one? It starts with an E, and it's their little logo is like a little hops guy. I forgot the name. Ember something. Ember.
You're talking to the wrong.
I don't know, but
wrong
there was another
person.
brand. But yes, the Cutwater was one of the main brands of that bar, and I think I actually had their Paloma, and it was really good.
Nice.
Yeah, they were great. I mean, it was a good. I think it was just the whole can.
Yeah, probably
And it was exactly the prices you would expect for drinking
at a theme park.
Oh yeah.
Can't really avoid that. And if you wanted to get food there, they have
Elysian Brewing Company.
Elysian, there you go.
Sorry, it just came to me.
No, you're good. They have Frito pies. So they open up just a bag of Fritos and they put like the chili and stuff on it.
Oh yeah.
Or instead of Fritos, you could do Takis as well. So they
Mhm.
have those there. And then obviously like cookies and things like that. And then when Christina left, I went and got food because I was hungry at this point. So I went to the Universal Plaza. So this year, they actually used the Universal Plaza. Instead of it being a queue for whatever maze is in the Parisian Courtyard, they actually had a bar restaurant area.
Nice.
With some walk around characters that weren't scary. They were kind of spooky, but not scary. You could take photos with them. They had
It
like
was a
their
good
own
break.
little photo ops.
Oh, that's nice.
So there was a lot of different drinks that came in like blinky cups and stuff like that. They had a couple of animatronic skeletons talking back and forth to each other.
That was really funny. I liked that a
Yeah.
lot.
And they had the little restaurant that they have in there called little restaurant. It was called Little Cocina. And they had the thing that I got from there was the beef birria tacos and the horchata churros.
Oh, nice.
And those were so freaking good. And so the birria tacos came with like the dipping juices and everything.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And the churros were crispy on the outside and super soft and fluffy on the inside. Highly, 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 highly recommend going over there and getting that, because for me, like, that was top-notch food for a theme park event like this.
Nice.
So, but overall, I feel like for having a slightly smaller event, I feel like Horror Nights is totally worth going to.
This was slightly smaller.
Do you feel like
slightly smaller, because typically there would be like 9 or 10 mazes and 6 scare zones. So we only had 2, 4, 6, 8 mazes, or 7 mazes in a Terra Tram and 3 scare zones.
Well, wouldn't you say that this lineup is more similar to like pre 2019? Because 2019 had 10 mazes but no Terra Tram.
Correct. But before that, it would still have 9 mazes with Terror Tram.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's not too far off. And
No,
like the
I mean,
scare
the
zones,
disparity is really the scare
yeah, no, the
zones.
scare zones is really where it's lacking. But with the mazes, I mean, it's probably seems like air quotes less because there's some repeats, but there's still like a lot to do.
I personally don't think the repeats really hindered the event in any way.
No, I don't think so.
As people who have gone to the event, yeah, we know it, but for Christina, she doesn't know.
Yeah.
She still had fun. I mean, you don't
It was
care that it's
amazing.
been there before.
And
Nope.
even you or me, like having gone before, I would love to go through Exorcist again. Honestly, it's like I wouldn't be mad if they brought back a few fan favorites from way years past. Bring back La Llorona.
Yeah, oh
Bring
my god,
back-
please.
Bring back I don't some other maze that's
Insidious.
good.
We
Insidious.
love
I can't.
Insidious.
I
Or
sto-
even
I stopped thinking.
I stopped thinking.
I stopped. I just stopped.
or do the first Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare Again.
Oh, yeah, that was
damn
good.
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
It was so good.
So yeah, so I would love if they had some like throwback returning mazes like that, because like people wouldn't even barely remember them anymore.
Of course, the HHM fan community would lose their minds. Oh,
Yes,
I
they
can't
would.
believe it. They're doing it.
They would, but they would get over it. They would still go. They'd still pay the money.
No, you're
So,
right. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
same thing with Disney fans. It's like, I can't believe Disney's doing this. Here's my wallet.
Halloween Horror Nights is selling out. Obviously, people don't mind repeats.
Yeah,
so.
they don't mind. And the thing is that, like, you know, the whole reason why we brought Christina on the show, not only because, you know, you wanted to go and experience it and see this event, but also get a very different point of view, as we've mentioned multiple times throughout the episode. We are jaded. We've experienced it, so we're viewing everything through a certain lens. So for you, you know, the black hallways or the transitions or, you know, certain IPs, none of that bothers you. I'm assuming you literally went and had a blast, and it was really just
None of
about
that stuff bothers me.
having fun and getting scared.
Right. I mean, listen, I know nothing about this. I don't know anything about past stuff, any of the talk about what was going to be good, what was going to be bad, things that bugged people. But now that I hear there was Crimson Peak and La Llorona, I want to go back and see those,
Right.
which is pretty cool. But it was very different for me, and I think that I'm glad that I didn't know very much going into it. I think that really helped.
Yeah. So I think it just proves that a lot of the things that us fans tend to kind of focus on really ultimately don't make a huge bit of difference.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Not to
I think I
people
knew
that-
that anyway.
Not to people that aren't super fans.
Yeah, exactly.
So the majority of people going. Yeah.
Exactly, the general public. Because you are the general public and we are not.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I'm glad that I was able to take you along on this adventure and kind of open you up to the world of Halloween Horror Nights, and now we've
I'm
created
so
our own
thankful
monster.
that you did.
We've created a monster.
Scary.
You might
Farm
have
next.
created. No, let's just take things really slow.
A few years of Halloween
Um,
Horror Nights first.
Yeah, let's take it slow. I'm still getting over it.
Still
Like
messed
I
up.
literally felt like I had the biggest hangover the next day, but it was just from being scared.
A scared hangover. But thank you for joining us here on the show and
course,
sharing your
anytime.
experiences. I don't know if you have anything to plug at all. Usually our guests were like, hey, follow us, blah, 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 if you want to follow me. But I don't know if you have anything, do you?
I don't.
Well, it makes my job easier, so thank you.
No problem. No problem.
But hopefully everybody enjoyed our review of Halloween Horror Nights 2021 here in Hollywood. And thank you everybody for tuning in. We're going to be having so many more Halloween episodes coming up. We got Scary Farm,
Yeah.
we got Delusion, we got Hayride. There's plenty of things to cover this season, so we have a lot to look forward to. But if you guys haven't already, make sure you head on over to iTunes. Leave us a 5-star written review there. It is always super helpful to us. It's a free way of supporting the show, and it helps us go up higher in the standings. It makes it easier for everyone to find us and enjoy us like you are right now. And if you haven't, follow us on social media as well. We post everything there. We post about the different events we're at, things like that. Luckily, I was very lucky. I got a sneak peek at Scary Farm and all the different foods, so I posted a bunch about that. So you could easily follow us at Theme Park Duo on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, things you want to hear, things you don't want to hear, things you're annoyed about, or if you want to hear more hot dog puns that are thick and girthy, you can always...
if you want to tell Gabe more female-forward horror movies,
Or if you're
email.
concerned about chainsaws.
You could always email us at
themeparkduo@gmail.com. I almost forgot our email address.
5 seasons in and nothing has changed. Thank you again, everybody. Hope you enjoyed our nonsense, and always remember,
There's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. See ya.
Thanks for riding with the Theme Park Duo. Make sure to gather all your belongings before the end of the podcast. Bye-bye.